So last year, I learned the handstand for the first time. And after that, I wanted to learn them on the higher bars, like the higher P bars that you'd find at your local park. But the height difference always scared me because it was a bigger fall and you can get a lot more hurt doing that rather than just on the floor or on my normal little parallettes, right? So one day, I mustered up the courage to try it. I went for it, I did an attempt, and I ended up falling and scraping my elbow on a corner of the on the P bar, and that really decreased my confidence in it. I didn't try again for 2 months, even though I could have. I went to that park many times, but I always walked past in shame or just did dips because I was comfortable doing them, right? I never tried again, well, for 2 months. And then one day, I again got the courage to try again. I really wanted the skill. I wanted to be able to do it at a local park and not just on the floor or on my normal parallettes. So I tried again and I felt decent in it, I felt like I could probably do it if I tried again. And so I tried again and it worked finally. I was finally able to achieve the skill. And it felt different, but also the same because it's just a handstand. You got to remember that. Even though it was a lot harder for me, it really is just a handstand. And if that's what you're working for, that's great. It's a great skill to learn. It's one of the most important. But just trying to challenge yourself with it can be really important too. So strangely, after that, doing normal handstands either on the floor or on the parallettes like that I have at home felt a lot more comfortable because I had something harder to compare it to, right? Because I did something a lot more difficult for me, and when I did a normal handstand, I was like, well, now this is easy because I've done harder things, right? That's how it works. And it really showed me that I can advance far in a skill by just doing a harder variation and like a more uncomfortable variation. And it really makes a big difference, This can apply to any calisthenics skill and not just handstand. But I just used that as an analogy because I wasn't really comfortable with the handstand yet. So after that, I wanted more and I trained in ways that reflected that. I would do things to make it harder, and either physically or mentally. And I saw a lot of growth from that. So sorry to pause real quick, but my name is Amit, and I help calisthenics athletes achieve the skills of their dreams. So if you'd like to learn what you need to do in order to gain the fastest progress and to minimize mistakes, that first link will be in the description. So thank you. So after that, I often trained on ledges or uneven surfacing in order to, achieve the challenge that I needed to make the normal handstand feel easier, right? Because that was my goal. And last week I went on vacation, which is why I haven't posted in a while, but I did keep training, right? I found 2 ways to make it harder. The first way was going on a hike, and I did handstands on these rocks, basically near a cliff, and that was very nerve-wracking and difficult, not only because of the height, but because the rocks were very hot too, so it was just uncomfortable to do. And the other way was near a pool. Basically, I was like a foot off from the ledge of the pool, and doing a handstand then, especially, was very difficult because I knew that if I fell backwards or forwards, whatever way, I would get my clothes wet, and I really did not want to do that because I way underpacked for the trip. So it's like, I didn't want to do laundry like 4 times. Overall, I bet that if I didn't train in this way, like making it more uncomfortable, I don't think I would have gotten as much progress in the handstand, even if I did the same amount of reps, but normally, right? I think the extra challenge really makes a big difference over the long term when it comes to getting more comfortable with skills. See, I trained in these difficult spots, which either made the challenge more difficult physically, like if it was an uneven ledge or something like that, or mentally, if I was near a cliff or near the pool or in a different uncomfortable situation, right? Like on those higher parallettes. The challenge physically didn't get any harder, but because it was a higher parallel, the mental like bandwidth it took to do it was a lot more difficult, right? So if you're training for a skill, try to think up of a few ways to make that skill harder. It doesn't have to be handstand, it doesn't have to be what I said before, but just doing a tiny change and making it a tiny more difficult can make a big difference in your training, right? No matter what the skill is. And it doesn't have to be calisthenics. That applies to every skill, but we're just focusing on calisthenics here, right? So think creatively. If you have a pool, you can use that. And if you're going on a hike, you can use that, right? But that was just my example. If whatever your challenge is, whatever you know you're not comfortable with, try to use that to your advantage, right? Conquer that feeling. And not only you'll gain confidence in that position, but you'll just gain confidence, period, because you conquered something that you knew you were struggling with or that was difficult for you. And that can make a big difference in your mental health. And yeah, it's really exactly like adding weight to a bar or even to calisthenics. When I started my straddle planche training, like when I got good enough at advanced tuck and I started training straddle, I only did it with shoes on. And after a while, it just became habit. But one day, I don't know how long in, but probably a couple months, I took my shoes off for the first time. I wanted to see if it made a big difference. And I was shocked by how light and easy the straddle planche felt because of that. Because I added that small weight at the end of my feet, my shoes, the total movement itself was a lot harder compared to without shoes. And I think it's because of leverage, but I'm not going far deep into that. But basically, the farther the weight is from your shoulders during a planche, the harder it is. So even though my shoes are not that heavy, it really created a big difference in the amount of force I had to push. And so after removing the shoes, I could literally hold it for 10 seconds, which with shoes, I could hold a bad one for like 3. And so I was blown away by how much that helped over obviously a long period of time. Doing it in one workout, one time, will not do shit. And you probably know that, right? So I've seen calisthenics athletes do like full planches over cliffs, and that always amazed me because that means that the regular full planche is so easy that they could just do insane variations like that, or even the dragon version, which is like balancing on your parallettes. Like that's actually insane. And you know, it's an inspiration, right? That means if someone else can do it, you can do it as well, right? Just have to put in enough effort. And yeah, really pushing the boundaries of calisthenics. So just adding in a few reps or sets of a harder version can make a big difference over time. As I said before, just be creative, know what you need to work on, and use that to your advantage, right? Don't run away from it, but acknowledge that it is an uncomfortable thing and train with it, right? So even if this could even be a thing. If you want to, you could try doing handstands in public, which is kind of uncomfortable, at least for me, but it really makes you want to do the actual thing, right? You don't want to fail in front of people. So putting people in front of you or doing it in a crowded area makes it like you very don't want to fail. That was horrible English, but you get what I mean, right? Like you're going to feel a pressure to do what you want to do. So find variations that personally make you very uncomfortable and challenge you, and you'll feel a lot better from it. So thanks for watching, and as always, you could always find my help in the link below or in the comments if you just want a quick tip.